Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Women You Should Know. I am so excited to have Vanessa here today from On the Go HR. She is, when I think of HR, she is like the complete opposite of it. She makes you feel so empowered and so just like ready to take on the world as a really smart small business owner as a service provider. And so I'm so excited to have her here today so you all can get to know her, use her, work with her. So Vanessa, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to do this today. So yeah, shoot away.
Well, I think it's just so important. I mean, you and I have talked about this behind the scenes. I think it's so important that even as people start their entrepreneurship journey and their small businesses, and it's just a team of one, eventually you're going to grow, right? And there are so many different policies and practices that when we were back in corporate, if you weren't in HR, you really didn't know all those things were happening behind the scenes. You may not have even been aware that those were standard, practices, best practices, all of that. So talk to me a little bit about some of the, not red flags, but some of the areas or gaps you see a lot of service providers specifically making when it comes to running their small business.
Yes. I don't know if we have enough time. But I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of service providers do when they're starting their small business is that they're too quick to hire.
Mm-hmm.
I think when they start becoming overwhelming with the amount of work that is coming in, whether it is their own personal business and its growth, or it's the client's business, they start thinking that they automatically need to hire someone right away to help them. And a lot of times they make the common mistake of, just creating this, generic job description and then just paying whatever they can pay without actually doing the research of making sure, is this a right hire for me today?
Yeah.
And is this a right hire for me at all? And so I think that's one of the most common mistakes. Yes, our goal as a business, we want to make sure that we're able to hire and bring on a team. However, we need to be smart. A lot of times service providers will hire, and then they end up hiring the wrong type of people because they're only looking for people who are just like themselves. They're not looking for people who are actually going to help the business grow. Yes, of course, this is your baby. We don't take that away. But the whole point of you hiring is for you to let go of some of those tasks that you were dealing with before and give it to somebody who has a different level, or a different view on it that can help you increase the clientele, the traffic, the networking, and everything. And I think that's what happens. A lot of times they end up trying to find somebody who is just like them, and that's not where you're going to find the right hire. Another issue can be salary. I've noticed, and I'm saying this because I actually seen it recently. I had someone who posted a job ad about a future position that she was hiring for. It's not like active, like she's not hiring today, but it's something that she wanted to put out there. And she put her starting salary at 15 because why? That's what she can afford. She literally got a lot of backlash because people were saying that that was too low. Now, I know when I first started as a service provider, I was making 15. And mind you, I have a background in human resources, so I could have been making more.
Right.
But this is a totally new world, and I didn't know anything about it. And I had to learn, pretty much work my way up.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of service providers have put that in order for you to start this service provider world, or to start in this business in something, you have to put yourself at a high rate. No, because a lot of times you're still starting out. This is still new to you. This is new to all of us. And compared to when we first started, a lot more service providers today have more resources than when we did. Yeah. And so, they're actually getting the training and they're getting the learning that we never got. So, it's great because we want to be able to show people that we can work remotely and we can still make a good salary. But if it's not in your budget, don't try to, paint this narrative that, yes, everyone has to make $20 an hour. No, especially if it's an entry level position, because I can tell you right now, I know some service providers who are expensive and their work is probably still crappy. Um, but it's a learning experience. And so I always tell people, I'm like, if you've never handled salary in the past,
Mhm.
don't come at me and tell me what I should know or shouldn't know about salary. Because I can tell you right now, if you're going to try to over budget yourself, you're going to end up broke. And that's where those clients come in who can't pay their contractors on time. Because why? They're over budgeting. So I always tell service providers, make sure you're making the right decision when it comes to hiring. Hiring is a long-term commitment. It's not something that can happen for a month and then that's it. Because once you start hiring, there's no stopping. But you
Yeah.
have to make sure you have the right structure in order to make the right hire. And so I think it's very important that they are aware of knowing what their budget is, especially for the whole year. It's great to know what your budget is monthly, but service providers, our budget is not consistent. One month we can have a great month and then the other month we can have a crappy month. So you have to make sure that there is consistency in order for you to make the right hire, and you can make, and you can pay them the right rate. So I think that's very important. And then just not trying to hire someone who's just like you. Hire different personalities, someone who's going to help brand your business the way you want it to be branded, and just pretty much expand those personalities. That's just very important.
I love that. I love that so much because this space is so unregulated. Like it is like I talk about it being like the wild, wild west all the time. We're just trying to figure it out as we go. And like you said, we're trying to figure out, kind of learn what no one else taught us. Like it wasn't available to us. And one of the biggest gaps that I see, especially for people who want to hire, is leadership. Like you put the job description out there, they're excited to work with you. But then it becomes like this. I don't know the difference between a contractor and a full-time employee. I don't know, what I can ask them to do, what I can't ask them to do. And I don't know how to effectively manage a team. So what have you seen the same thing? And have you heard this from other service providers? What does that look like to you?
So yes. And I think that's very common in all of the service providers that are out there, is that once they start hiring, what happens after? It's just like working for corporate, or working for an organization.
Mhm.
Regardless whether you're big or small, you have to make sure that you have some type of HR planning in there, because regardless whether they're contractors or employees, these are people that you're still supervising. These are people that you're still supporting. These are people that are supporting you. So you have to make sure that you have some type of structure after they're hired. I tell people a lot of times that onboarding doesn't stop just when you give them forms to fill
Yeah.
out, the direct deposit and everything like that. No, onboarding is literally the 3, the 6, and the year growth of them being in the company. And what happens after that? And this is the reason why businesses always deal with high employee turnover, because once they make that hire, they literally stop supporting their new hire. Because why? They've already filled that position. But me as an employee or even a contractor, my goal is to grow. So if I'm going to grow with your company, what are my expectations? Of course, I'm going to want to get some type of skills added that I don't have. Of course, I want to get training. Of course, I want to be considered for projects, to show you what my potential is. And I think it's very important that, yes, I see it all over, team building. I get it. But are there actual service providers who are actually discussing with their team what their personal and professional goals are independently? And I'm talking about one-on-one. Are you actually providing evaluations? I
Mhm.
can tell you right now, they're not. Because why? They don't know what's going on. They don't know anything. They think that in the service provider world, it's like butterflies and flowers, and it's so easy. And, just because you're really good at this particular service, then that's it. No, a lot of times, service providers do struggle with their team, and I've gotten a lot of people DMing me, telling me, Vanessa, I had this person who just didn't work out and they're not working out. What can I do? And I'm like, well, perform evaluations, do supervisions once a month, and just pretty much ask them, questions on the areas that they're improving in, the areas that they need help in. Really get to know your team member. Team building is great for a group setting, but individually knowing your team is most important, and you have to make sure you're providing other things besides team building. And another thing too, stop hiring your best friends. Like,
I'm glad somebody said it. Yes. Stop hiring your family members, your best
friends.
friends.
Like, let's be real here. I can listen, and I see it all the time on Instagram. My bestie, and I get it, I love it. But at the same time, there's probably someone out there better than your bestie that can probably give your business what is missing. Yeah. And so I can't stress enough that it may seem like it's easy to work with people that you've developed a close relationship with, but the whole purpose of us being service providers is to expand. And you cannot expand with people that you've developed relationships with, because why? A lot can happen. And then there's no more biz besties. So I definitely do promote that you do evaluations, whether it's supervisions, and they can be once a month or annually, or even every 6 months. Really help your team actually understand what their thought process is, what they're having trouble with, what do they want to do, because they're not going to tell you, hey, Jordan, I want to actually do more than just what I'm doing now. Because why? They're afraid.
Yeah.
They're afraid to actually speak up. They're afraid to lose their clients. They're afraid to lose their money. So you have to make sure you understand what you're going to do right after you make that hire. What are your goals? Are you going to just have them work entirely on just this one particular project? Or do you really want them to expand their knowledge and actually have them do other things within the company? So that's very important. So yes, I think, it goes beyond team building. You have to, structure out evaluations and things like that, and have actual conferences and discussions with your team. Team building is great as a team, but you really need to also get to know your team individually as well.
Man, I could not agree more. And this is something I tell. So for any of my clients that have been OBM for, we have this conversation all the time, because I think everybody loves to say, oh, I love providing clear feedback, or just tell me. And that's not always the truth. And so I think having structures in place to actually open those channels of communication. So feedback forms that even your team provides you, being aware that contractors, especially a remote team, are not always going to be based in the same locations. So like one of my favorite things to do is we have a team check-in form that they complete every month. What's your capacity? What's going on with other clients? What's your turnaround this month? Because we know that the nature of their work changes, and it's not just about supporting their growth. It's like, I need to know how to support you. I need you to have an ability to tell me what you can and can't do so I can work around that. And that's the leader's responsibility. And I think people forget about that. It's like you hire, but that time that they're now helping you, that's your time to now focus on serving your team and your clients. And I think that that's often this big gap that we see. And, I remember in corporate having all these reviews. In the last 2 years, I've had one client that's held consistent reviews for me. That's let's sit down, have a time. I'm going to provide you feedback. And it's for me as an 8, I'm so refreshing, because I just need to know, because service providers struggle with this. How do I constantly provide value? How do I know if I'm doing a good job or not for you? Because everyone loves to sugarcoat something until something goes wrong. So yes to all of this.
It's also, yes, we do provide feedback forms to all of our clients once a project is over. That, yes, we do. However, we need to make sure that we have a better understanding, and that communication is going on during the projects, when the work is actually happening. Because a lot of times what happens is that service providers become overwhelmed because they're trying to put themselves on on a pedestal. They're trying to prove that they're really good, especially when we're actually in probably the most competitive job market today, because not everyone wants to do service provider. And you're literally going to come and have so many people within the same type of job that you're doing offer all of these amazing resources and benefits and everything for cheap. And here you are, who's been doing it for so many years. And now it's just like, no one wants you because probably they can get it cheaper somewhere else.
Mhm.
So it's very important that if you're a service provider, an entrepreneur, or even a coach, and you do have a team, you always make sure to have that open communication,
Mhm.
especially if you know that something is not right and something is wrong. Speak up. What's the
Yeah.
worst that can happen?
Uh-huh.
Is for them to get better at what they're doing, and understand maybe there's a particular area that they're lacking in. I mean, we all have to work on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So why can't we work and help our teams?
Yeah. Yes, all of this.
My
So
phone is ringing. I don't know who it is, but it ain't mine.
so Vanessa, I know you have a whole background, but for
Yeah.
everyone who is new, tell me about your story. How did you transition from full-time HR to then transition to your own business as an HR?
Sure. So yes, I've actually worked my way up as an HR professional. I started right out of high school. I was an
Okay.
HR assistant, went to college. I got my bachelor's in human services. So that's the reason why my HR structure is a little bit more different than the common corporate, because I do provide that human touch. Um, and I wanted it to bring that out for all businesses, whether it's small businesses and big businesses. And so when I first started, I didn't think I would do this.
Mhm.
No, I really thought I would just continue working in companies.
Yeah.
But I had a friend who I literally bumped into at Bank of America. And we had a conversation and we were talking about how unhappy we both were because we were both mothers and we weren't spending time with our children the way we wanted to.
Mhm.
And we were both working. Can I curse?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, we were both working shitty jobs. And, we were just unhappy. So then she actually had told me about how she heard about the service provider world and she was looking into it. So this was like probably a year before I started mine. So then she started doing it, I think, for about 2 years, and she did amazing with it. Bumped into her and she was like, "Hey, Vanessa, have you thought about what you're going to do with yourself?" And I told her I literally quit a very prestigious corporate job in New York City because I wasn't seeing my son. I was literally working 12-hour day shifts and I was missing my son growing up, especially when he was just an infant. So I literally took shitty dead end jobs working for small businesses and was just doing their HR support. And I was working part-time, but it was remote and I didn't care. So then she reached out to me. She's like, "I want you to consider doing this." You know, she was an OBM too. And she was like, "I've been an OBM for a while. And I will tell you right now, we need HR." And especially because there aren't any HR people in the online space world. And I was like, I don't know. Like she was really selling it to me. And she's my mentor. I love her. Her company is called Desk on a Run. So if anybody's interested, but she was the one who actually got me into it. And so at first I was nervous and I was like, okay, I've never run a business before. I don't know what I'm going to get myself into. What if I fail? All of these thoughts were going through my head.
Yeah.
And this was right before the pandemic happened. So I didn't expect for this whole global thing to happen during the start of my business. So I reached out to my husband and I was like, my friend really wants me to do this and I'm considering it as a side hustle. What do you think? And I really, my husband is my best friend, just like the way Big Daddy is yours. And, I mean, he's not Big Daddy, but, he don't make me lunch. But, honestly, like he is my rock and I won't, I can't do anything without him. And he was like, "If you want to do it, just do it." So he helped me set up the process with business account and everything because he came from a finance background. And And then I reached out to my friend. I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. So then we started. And at first I was literally, I shit you not, Vanessa HR virtual assistant.
Our original
Literally.
handles are like those old AOL instant messaging. Like we just don't talk about it. We have new ones. We're happy with the new ones.
Girl, let me tell you, I had the Canva logo and it was like a bunch of women holding hands like this, like, and I'm like, I can't believe this was me back then. And so she helped me create everything. I even had a blog, and I don't do blogs, but this was like the first time.
Yeah.
And then this happened back in January, like towards the end of December, January, where I officially opened my business. I reached out to my accountant and I told him, you know, what kind of, you know, should I be an LLC or should whatever? And he was like, no, let's do corporation. And that's how I got incorporated. So I started in January, officially opening my business, and I was pretty much lost. I didn't know what to do. She had me, you know, sign up to all of these Facebook groups. I created my Instagram and everything. And then she told me about Chelsea and Holly and the break room. So I ended up doing that. And literally, I was on there. I still wasn't getting clients or anything, but I was very active on the break room. And that's when they first started foundations. So I'm literally the alumni. And so we started the foundations in March, and they pretty much were the people who actually helped me structure my business and actually get to know it on a more deeper level, especially because I connected with so many other amazing women who probably have been in the service provider world longer than my friend. And had all went through different issues trying to make something of themselves.
Yeah.
And so did that for 3 months. And I would say we started in March. By April, I already had gotten my first client on Upwork. And it just bloomed ever since then. And then June of last year, I decided to quit my 9 to 5 and I went into full-blown business mode. I will tell you though, it was scary because my husband lost his job. And I was the only one working, handling a business. I had no other income but what the business was bringing in. And I did it. I literally did it. I did it all of my own, with the support of my family. And, you know, the whole purpose of this wasn't to try to create a business where I want people to change their structure and recruitment or anything like that. I wasn't looking for that. I was just really looking for a reason to be happy to go to work and a reason to be able to be with my children more. I'm a mother of 2. I have 2 young ones. They're 3 and 1. And I want to see them grow up,
Right.
you know, but I also love having a career because I've been working since I was 17.
Yeah.
So, you know, in a way, I'm glad I bumped into her at Bank of America because I feel like this has totally changed my mindset on so many things. Like I never saw myself applying the way I have applied with my company. And I'm proud of it. It's my other baby. But I really did it just because I wanted to be with my kids. And of course, it probably sounds cliche, because a lot of mothers and a lot of other service providers will say the same thing. They did it to be with their kids. But genuinely, I really wanted to change how human resources is viewed. You know, we get a bad name because we're HR and businesses, and everybody always tries to ignore us. They don't want to open up to us. They think we're crappy, we're horrible, we have attitudes, and that's not who I am. I mean, I've worked in this business for so long. I've seen so many crappy stuff happen. And I really wanted to change that. I really want the people to know that there are actual people that care about you, that care about your well-being. You know, I used to help people when I worked in office with their resumes while interviewing them. And I would tell them, listen, you're not going to get hired for this company, but I want you to be prepared when you're going for another interview at another company. And I would restructure their resume and I would tell them what to do and not to do during an interview, you know, because why? We're not educated in these things, especially in minority companies. I mean, in minority communities, they're not educated at all. And they don't know how to go about being interviewed or how to approach someone for a job or even write a resume. And these things should be taught, whether they're in high school or even in college. And so, I really want the people to know that there are people out there that actually care and want you to succeed. And I'm one of those people, because why? I was also someone who was trying to look for work at one point and I didn't get hired. I was on unemployment for like, I would say almost like 2 years while I was in school, and I wasn't getting hired for any job. I struggled. And, even up to now as a business owner, I was still struggling, because why? My husband had not worked and I had to make sure that we have food on the table and we had to provide and everything. So if I know what it's like to struggle, I can imagine what other people go through, and I want them to have their voices heard. I want them to get noticed. There are so many amazing people out there that are so smart and they're so good at their jobs, but they get overlooked because why? They don't have the experience, they don't have the education. And that's the problem with a lot of these companies today. They're overlooking the right people because they're just so used to a stale structure that they've been using for so many years. And can you believe that when it comes to recruiting, you're already paying like $30,000 and within 6 months just trying to hire? And if I can, cut that price in half and get you the right people, I'm going to do that. And I want to be able, and as a mom too, because I'm a minority, I'm Latina, I'm from New York, we're living in a shithole world today with so much going on. I want to make sure that my children have a better life than what we're dealing with today. And as a mother of a son, and you think about everything that's going on in the world, I don't want my children to be overlooked either because of the color of their skin, because of their last name. If I can help people today, I'm going to keep doing it until my last breath.
Thank you for sharing that. Seriously, thank you for sharing that. I find you so amazing and so inspiring. And you don't take no for an answer. You
No.
just keep going and you work your ass off and you serve people so well along the way. So what does it actually look like to work with you for the person who has their own? I mean, I know that you are doing the whole thing, but like, what does it look like to actually work with you for people who need your help?
Insanity. No, definitely structure. I am one of those people that I love structure. I'm super OCD. And so if anything is not organized, I go crazy myself. And I'm not one to be, to judge you. I'm an open book. But I'm also open-minded. My goal is to just really help you understand what your process is. A lot of times, like with OBMs too, they, their structure is already created from us, when they first started and what they've learned to grow and everything. My structure is created for your business only. Because why? Every business has a different goal. Every business has a different, structure. Every business has a different way. And so the whole point of me helping you is because you have to make sure you get that out there. Yes, I may offer recruitment and sourcing services, but that doesn't mean you need that today. Maybe you want to learn how to do employee evaluations, or maybe you want to learn how to do HR budget. So I'm pretty much helping you with whatever your business is lacking or probably doesn't even know it needs. And so, pretty much it's simple. It's just getting to know you, what your business is about, and what are your goals? Like, what do you really want to do long term?
Yeah.
Some people will say that they don't even want to do this forever.
Mhm.
So, do you want to still keep your business open? Would you want it to go, somewhere else? So that's pretty much what I'm all about. It's more of the connecting, more of the training. I don't do SOPs at all. Because why? They're just standard. It's just reading documents. I actually train you. Like if it's a hiring service, I actually train you on how to communicate, how to talk, what questions to ask during your interviews, what to look for, body language, eye contact, everything. So, it's pretty much specific for the person who's looking for the service and what
Yeah.
service they're looking for. And it's ever changing because just like any business, HR is always changing.
Oh,
Regulations are always changing. Laws are always changing. And as service providers, we work with so many different people, throughout the US and some international. So you have to make sure you're always on top of everything that's going on, whether it's 1099 contracts, W-4, which is W-2 forms, all of that. You have to stay on top of these things. And so, my purpose is to really have you understand beyond hiring and beyond onboarding and beyond team building. What happens after that?
yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and sharing what we can be doing differently in the online space. Where can everyone find you and learn more about you?
So I'm still on Instagram, but I'm rarely ever on. But yes, definitely you can find me on Instagram at on the go HRINC. Facebook is also the same. And then also on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can definitely find me on there, Vanessa Portes, Portes, or if not, on the go HRINC. And then I also have my website. You can also visit there at www.onthegohr.com. Shoot me a DM if you have questions. I'm here to help. Even if you're not ready, I'm still here to help. Don't get scared with HR. HR is here to help. I feel like people get scared with the word HR and they think like, because they've done this by themselves for so long, they're like, that's
Right.
it. They're afraid to hear like what they've been doing wrong. And no, we're not here to do that. We're here to support you and help you and have a successful business as it grows.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. I will drop all of Vanessa's information below and we will see you again next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.